Hello friends, in this session we are going to discuss about rate limiting system design concepts. It is one of the most commonly asked system design question in many design rounds. What is rate limiting? Why do applications need rate limiting? Rate limiting is primarily used to control or limit how often each user can call the API. How many API calls a user can make in the given time frame. We will take an example. Assume that you build this application. Other users or other applications can leverage these APIs for certain functionalities. These APIs are commercial APIs. Any user must subscribe or onboard to this application before API usage. The onboarding process issues user ID or app key after successful onboarding. Since these are commercial APIs, you must pay for license. There are multiple tiers available. You can choose your tier based on your application requirements or based on your budget. You don't need to pay anything to get free tier license, but free tier license usage is very limited. You can make maximum of 5 requests per minute. API will respond to first 5 requests in the given minute and denies rest of the messages till the next minute, which means API will throttle your requests. You will start receiving rate limit exceeded kind of error messages. If your application gains popularity, then free tier is not sufficient. You must choose either economy tier or premium tier license based on your budget. Economy tier allows you to make 100 requests per minute. On the other hand, premium tier allows you to make 1000 requests per minute. Any request beyond these limits will be throttled, will be denied. Now, how can we monitor and control API usage per user? Whose responsibility is that? This is where rate limiter comes into picture. It is rate limiter's responsibility to control or limit API usage per user. Not only in commercial license based use cases, rate limiter is also very critical in other use cases. Rate limiters are very critical in protecting your application from malicious attacks. You might be aware of DDoS attacks. DDoS means distributed denial of service attacks. DDoS attacks are malicious attempt to disrupt the normal traffic by creating a fake traffic. A group of devices or multiple devices targets your application intentionally to bring down your application or to affect your application's reputation. Rate limiters are highly helpful to protect your application from DDoS attacks. Also, rate limiters can stop certain kind of bot attacks. Let's say there is a bot which is constantly creating new user subscriptions on your application. Rate limiters can detect these kind of bot attacks and prevents abnormal behaviors on your applications. Generally, rate limiters takes IP address as a reference to track the usage in these cases. Rate limiters also protects against API overusage, which is not necessarily malicious attacks or due to bot activity. Let's say one of your application customer is running performance testing, which is directly putting huge load on your system. In this case, it is overusage of APIs, which directly affects other customers of your application with higher latencies, or even it can cause your system to auto-scale and increase your infrastructure cost. Not only these, there are other use cases as well. You can impose rate limiting on each server node level or a specific region level, depends on your use cases. Sometimes we impose rate limiting to reduce our infrastructure cost. This is pretty common use case. At high level, rate limiting blocks users, bots or applications that are overusing or abusing a web property. Now let's look into rate limiting algorithms or rate limiting strategies. There are various algorithms for rate limiting, each with its own benefits and drawbacks. We will discuss one by one. First, we will discuss each algorithm at single node level, and then we will discuss them at distributed system level. First, we will discuss token bucket approach. Token bucket is one of the basic rate limiting algorithm based on hashing. We can record each unique user's access information as a key value pair. We will store it in either in-memory or Redis or Memcached kind of systems. Here is a sample key value pair structure maintained in Redis. Here the key is unique user identity. It can be user ID, app ID or IP address, depends on your implementation, but the key must be unique. The value is a JSON string here. It need not be JSON string. You can maintain a structured string format according to your implementation too. The value contains two parts: the available tokens, number of available tokens, and last access timestamp in epoch format. We will take an example to understand this better. Whenever any new request arrives from a user, a rate limiter fetches the hash from the Redis. In our example, the hash is based on user ID. It verifies the available token count first. It accepts the request only if the available token count is not 0. In our example use case, let's assume that the rate limiter is allowing 5 requests per minute per user. Let's say that a request is received from user 1 at 10:30:12 seconds. In this case, rate limiter pulls the token data from Redis and validates recently accessed timestamp. As per the token value, the previous request from user 1 came 2 seconds back and we have 3 tokens left for this minute time frame. So a rate limiter accepts the request, reduces the token count to 2 and updates the timestamp value before it is updating into Redis. Let's look here. There are 3 more requests in the same minute time frame from the same user. The first request is coming at 10:30:14 seconds. The second request is coming at 10:30:15 seconds and the third request is coming at 10:30:16 seconds. Each request is with 1 second difference. If you notice here, there are only 2 tokens available at this time frame for this user. So a rate limiter accepts the first 2 requests and denies the last request. Also, it updates the token value as 0 in the Redis along with the timestamp. Any request from the same user in the same minute time frame will be rejected, will be denied. Now, let's say that the same user sent another request after 2 minutes, which is at 10:32:02 seconds. A rate limiter validates the last access timestamp and it notices that it is beyond 1 minute time frame. So it refills with 5 new tokens in the bucket for this user. It accepts the request, reduces the available token count by 1. If you notice, the available token count is 4. It also updates the timestamp before writing into Redis. This is how the token bucket works. The token bucket algorithm is very simple. It just requires tiny memory footprint to maintain all user tokens. The main disadvantage here is Redis operations are not atomic. The read and then write behavior creates a race condition. Let's take an example. Let's imagine if there was only one token available for a user and that user issued multiple concurrent requests at the same time. If multiple separate processes are serving these requests, then all these processes concurrently reads the available token value. At this given time frame, there is only one token available for this user. All these processes considers that there is only one token available, they had not hit the rate limit yet and accepts the request. If you notice here, since there is only one token available, out of these 3 requests, only one should be allowed, rest all must be denied. But all these requests were accepted and processed. This is an issue. This is because Redis operations are not atomic. This issue can be fixed by imposing a lock on Redis operations. But imposing a lock on Redis operations will slow down the concurrent request processing. So this is a performance hit. Now we will look into another approach. The next approach is based on leaky bucket. Leaky bucket is a very simple and intuitive approach to rate limit based on a queue. The queue holds all incoming requests. The queue always comes with a fixed size. Let's say that the queue size is 3 in our example. Whenever a new request arrives, it will be appended to the rear of the queue until the queue is not full. This is the rear of the queue. This is the front of the queue. Once the queue is full, it will start discarding the request. It will deny the user request until the queue is free again. The requests are processed at fixed time intervals in the first come first serve manner. Let's say that we have received 5 requests at a time. Each request will be added to the queue one by one at a time. The request will be added to the queue only if it has a free slot. Since our queue capacity is 3 here, it can only accommodate first 3 incoming requests. It will discard rest of the 2 requests here. The requests in the queue will be processed one by one at regular intervals. Once the queue is having some free slots, it will start accepting the user incoming requests again. Leaky bucket smoothens burst of requests by processing them at a constant rate. It regulates the irregular traffic. This approach is very easy to implement. It is very simple. Since the size of the queue is constant and limited, it is memory efficient too. But the major disadvantage with this approach is, as the throughput is higher, the discard rate also will be very high. I really don't think this approach can cover all possible use cases. Now let's look into another approach. The next approach is fixed window counters. It is somewhat similar to token bucket approach, but Redis operations are atomic here. Rather doing read and then write based Redis operations, here it is write and then read based Redis operations. This approach is also very simple and memory efficient. This approach stores key value pair into Redis. The key value structure is as shown here. The key is user specific, contains user's identity and also includes a timestamp. The timestamp represents 1 minute window in our example. The value is the request count within the 1 minute window period. It keeps track of the request count within the given window period. The time window limit can be 1 minute, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depends on your application, depends on your requirements. Also, the key will be expired immediately after the window period. As the requests are keep coming from the same user, the counter will be keep incremented until it reaches rate limit. Once the rate limit reaches its threshold, the further request will be discarded. Let's take an example. Here, the user 1 is sending request at 10:30:12 seconds. As of now, the counter value is 3. It increments the counter value to 4 before considering for rate limit validations. In our example, we are going to process 5 requests per minute per user. Since the counter is under the rate limit threshold, the request will be accepted and will be processed. The same user 1 again sending request at 10:30:14 seconds. The counter value will be incremented to 5 now. This request also will be accepted and processed as it is under rate limit threshold. The same user again sending request at 10:30:15 seconds. The counter value will be incremented to 6. Now, since the counter is already reached rate limit threshold, this request will not be processed, will be rejected, denied. The same user is again sending request at 10:31:02 seconds, which is after a minute. By this time window, the previous key value pair in Redis will be expired. A new key value pair will be created for this request and the counter will be updated. If you notice here, the counter value is 1 here. Also, if you notice here, the timestamp is completely different from previous timestamp, previous key timestamp. This is how fixed window counter approach will work. There is a disadvantage with fixed window counter approach. Even though it is simple and straightforward, it lets through twice the number of allowed requests per minute. Let's understand this better. Here is an example. This is 1 minute window fixed time frame. This is next minute window fixed time frame. These are the requests happen within these fixed window time frames. If you closely notice here, all these requests were happened at the end of the window time frame. If you notice here, these requests were happened at the very beginning of the window period. Now, if we consider 1 minute window period from middle of these two fixed window periods, let's say this is 1 minute window period. Then there are double the requests were allowed within the 1 minute time frame, which is not acceptable. Our rate limit is just 5 requests per minute per user, but we have processed 10 requests per minute. This is the drawback with fixed window counter approach. Now let's discuss another approach. The next approach is sliding window logs. In this approach also, we will store key value pair into Redis for each unique user. The key will be simply a unique user identity. The value will be set of timestamps. Rather storing count as a value, we will just log each user request timestamp as a value. All these timestamps are already sorted. You can store timestamp in milliseconds for more granularity. When application receives any user request, it first inserts the timestamp. It logs the timestamp here and then calculates number of events within the last 1 minute sliding window range. If the count is within the rate limits, it accepts the request and processes it. Otherwise, it simply rejects the request. It denies the request. Also, it regularly cleans up the stale timestamps in the values. The advantage of this algorithm is it does not suffer from the boundary conditions of the fixed windows, which we have seen in the last approach. But this approach requires more memory as we are logging each and every user request timestamp into Redis. Redis memory will be filled up easily. Also, the compute is costly here because each user request requires calculating number of requests occurred in the given sliding window time. There are high chances that the performance may drop during the burst of requests. So there is a scalability issue. This is not a scalable solution. We will look into next approach, sliding window counter. It is a hybrid approach, combination of both fixed window counters and sliding window logs. Rather logging each request timestamp into Redis, we will maintain per minute request counter at Redis. Look at this example key value pair. The key is simply user identity. The value is set of timestamps with request counts at each minute. Whenever application receives any user request, it first updates the current timestamp counter and then compute the count based on the sliding window interval. If the counts are within the rate limits, the request will be accepted. Otherwise, the request will be rejected. The memory usage is improved here as we are not logging all the timestamps now. We are only logging one timestamp per minute. Also, the counter compute per user request is improved. It is recommended to use sliding window counter approach because it gives the flexibility to scale rate limiting with good performance. Now let's look into these behaviors in a distributed environment. Let's assume that we have deployed our application on two different data centers or regions. This is region 1 or data center 1. This is another region, region 2 or data center 2. This is local load balancer at region 1 and this is local load balancer at region 2. We are using global load balancer to load balancer traffic between data centers. We have our application server behind local load balancers. Rate limiters can be part of your application itself or it can be external too, depends on your application architecture. Assume that rate limiters are using Redis here. We have enabled bidirectional replication between these two Redis instances. Also assume that both regions are working in active mode. Both regions are serving active traffic. What problems do we see in rate limiters with respect to distributed systems? We have discussed about race condition, which exists even in distributed systems. The solution to address race condition is locking Redis operations. We know that it impacts the performance, slows down request processing, which directly impacts end-to-end latencies. Another problem is data inconsistencies. We have enabled bidirectional replication between Redis clusters across regions. Practically, there will be latencies in data replications. It will never be real time. How can we account these replication latencies? Also, what if same user making many API calls at the same time, which is load balanced between data centers? Data inconsistencies can mislead rate limiters, isn't it? We can enable sticky sessions on the local load balancers, but it defeats the purpose of load balancing. I never suggest sticky sessions until it is mission critical requirement. Is there any solution for these problems? Ideally, there is no perfect solution. You have to decide what is important for your application. Is it performance or data consistency? You need to compromise one of these. You cannot achieve both performance and data consistency together. Choose what is good for your application. It is perfectly okay if you miss few requests. For example, if you are rate limiting a user at 1000 requests, allowing 1010 or 1020 requests are okay. It improves your application performance. Think about it. So this is about rate limiting strategies in system design. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching. Please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.